In this episode, we're looking into the world ahead, not just where we're going as individuals, but where we're heading collectively as a nation, a continent, and a global society. While many assume the future is all about heaven, hell, or some distant afterlife, this conversation challenges that idea. What if the afterlife isn't out there somewhere, but right here? Could it be about the bigger picture of our actions today? Could it be about the systems we allow to persist? This conversation is a bold look at how flawed narratives around religion, governance, and the economy are pulling humanity toward dangerous uniformity, erasing diversity, distorting purpose, and threatening the future of the human experience. And more importantly, we explore what you should do about it, and why you should. So if you've ever wondered what role you play in shaping the future, or how the chaos around us connects to deeper global dynamics, this is your invitation to engage. Welcome back. If you are new here, please subscribe and follow us on all NEAT social media platforms at neatcommunity.ng. Also, it will be nice if you can turn on the notification icon so you can get notified each time we upload new content. NEAT is an acronym for Nigerians Engineering Astounding Tomorrow. It is an initiative designed to bring together young and intelligent Nigerians who have what it takes to look beyond the challenges and divisions in the country and formulate a plan that would transform the nation and follow through with the plan. Now on to the conversation of the day. We're talking about the world ahead of us. It is kind of looking into the future to understand what lies ahead globally. As much as it sounds like projecting tomorrow or looking into tomorrow, it is still about today as well as the past. A peek into the future could get us to consider the past more seriously and even act with more urgency today. Therefore, it is important that at this point in time, we ask ourselves where exactly we are heading, both as individuals and collectives. Whether we look at that collective as a nation, Africa, or even globally, the same question still applies. In the world today, there seems to be only one perspective or answer to the question, and it is often from the theological viewpoints. The general assumption or general answer to that question is that we are all headed for an afterlife, at least from an individual standpoint. Collectively, there is hardly any attention paid, and that's largely because everyone seems to focus on what they believe is a personal journey. The answer always paints the narrative that the whole dynamics of life or existence is to shape the afterlife, somewhere outside the current world. To put it in another way, the answer projects a notion that all of us, once we die, are all heading to either heaven or hell. Basically, the ultimate end of existence is to shape our paths by working very hard to either make it in heaven or lose out in hell. Although there are other narratives that do not necessarily agree with heaven or hell, they all still focus on the thinking that existence or life points towards shaping events during and after death, somewhere outside the current world. So the question we need to address here is this: is this true? Are we really heading to hell or heaven, and where exactly is this heaven or hell? If it is not heaven or hell, where is the location of the afterlife as well as the events? If someone dies and activities are to take place after death, what is the nature of these activities, and where will these events take place? But most importantly, we need to discuss what all these have to do with the life we live currently, both as individuals and the need to build a better country, continent, and the world at large. If there is a connection, then what are we expected to do now, and are we doing that? If truly it is heaven or hell, where is the geographical location of this heaven? Does it really exist, or is it just either a picture in people's minds or another way of describing the final location of the human body at death? Now, when you study the scriptures carefully, there are enough pointers there to suggest that these narratives of heaven, hell, or even death as the place for events in the afterlife may be wrong. The scriptures that most of the people who paint these narratives claim to obtain their information from hardly support those claims. But that is a story for another day. For now, it is important to note that we don't want this conversation to be seen as a religious argument, as many people would define religion. For that reason, we're not really going to the specifics of the scriptures, but we'll focus on general angles of the conversation. So regardless of your conviction on whether the scriptures do specifically create a monolithic picture of events after death, it might be better to look at it that there are observable realities to understand these things better. In the video that talks about the purpose of life, we did delve into this topic a bit. In that video, we concluded that based on everyday observations, the ultimate purpose of life is to give better meaning to life. We argued that the true value of life lived in the past is to give better or worse experience to life lived in the present or in the future. For example, these videos, no matter whatever they do today, are even more valuable if they are able to influence people tomorrow to do things better. So, the life you are living is supposed to serve the life that another person will live in the future. It means we can even see heaven or hell as the experiences people will have tomorrow. That means that everything you do today is supposed to serve as a feed to the experiences another person will have tomorrow. Whether they find life miserable or beneficial depends on the laws you influence today, the cultures you promote today, and the things you do today. Take, for example, your life today. The water you drink, the food you eat, the technologies you use are all outputs from the inputs in the past. In the same way, everything you are doing today is just trying to create a feed for people tomorrow. Even the life you call yours is a mere continuation of the lives of other people who were here before. So instead of looking at them as gone, you might as well see them in you. You might as well see the picture that the so-called life after death, or afterlife, is pretty much a continuation of life on earth here. This means that when we look at everything very well, we realize that the world follows a specific design. It is not a spontaneous world, but one with a specific design and purpose. It also means that our view on this design may have been flawed or skewed. Rather than looking at the real dynamics of the true nature of the afterlife, people are just repeating narratives that were given to them. The origin of this narrative seems to be from another arguably faulty narrative, which projects that there is some God out there who is responsible for administering global affairs. They paint the narrative that this superpower is to a large extent responsible for the direction the world goes, or nothing in this world happens outside his knowledge. Some versions of the story say this God operates by allowing different individuals to do whatever they want, but he ultimately knows what they want to do and how they are going to do it. Well, again, the purpose of this conversation is not necessarily to create a theological debate. First of all, to hold such a debate, one would have to have conclusive knowledge of all the dynamics of existence and the nature of this God to prove that this is not the case. The second reason is that it would derail the purpose of this conversation. Moreover, instead of debate, we can rely on what is observable every day to draw conclusions. Let's even work on the premise that there is indeed one powerful force out there that designed and controls every other force here on Earth or the entire universe. We can conclusively state that, based on what we can see before us, this superpower does not operate by showing superpower, but by delegating the superpower functionality to humanity. That means that humanity is the gateway or the de facto decider of the trajectory of this superpower's direction. To make it simple, it means that all the powers to exhibit whatever design this superpower has have been delegated to humanity. Therefore, no matter whatever other creatures out there, whether a spirit, a cat, a lion, or whatever, they only operate based on the directives and orders from humanity. We can also see it that their existence, operations, and activities are subject to the preferences of human beings. This makes human beings the de facto God as far as the universe is concerned. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens outside the approval of human beings. This also means that whatever is being suspected out there to be God does not actually want to be seen that way. He wants all to see human beings as the expression of God. It wants all, including every human, to see humanity as the God itself and nothing outside it. It expresses itself through human beings, but as humanity as a long stretch that spans over time and race. It also means that humanity, then, has been created for a specific purpose, and that purpose is to sustain itself and the environment where it resides. Simply put, the goal and objective of humanity is to continue to exist without going extinct, and also that the environment that is supposed to sustain it does not become a threat to that sustenance. It means that part of the responsibility of humanity is to ensure that the air, the water, the animals, and organisms do not become a threat to the existence of humanity. So anything that would lead to the break of humanity as a continuous chain should not happen. Another important thing to note here is that for humanity to deliver this responsibility effectively, there are fundamental principles or structures that were given at the inception. From studying the scriptures, this is one of the things you would observe. Now, in the name of trying to envisage a God different from humanity as a stretch, it seems we have muddled a lot of things up. One of them is the disconnect between these fundamental structures for existence. One of those things that we have muddled up is religion. While trying to understand what it is, we seem to have misunderstood it. Though correctly seen as an important element to the existence of humanity, we have created a narrative that it has something to do with prioritizing artificial structures ahead of the hard-coded structures that were designed to enable humanity to fulfill its purpose effectively. So, instead of looking at religion from the perspective of worship of God or gods, which is correct, the focus should be on the structures designed for doing that. The fulfillment of purpose, whether the sustenance of humanity or the environment, is the ultimate act of worship of God and requires a specific human structure. The structure is that humanity, though as a stretch, must operate through unique divisions, namely families and ethnic communities. Basically, instead of trying to define religion from those broad definitions, it is better seen as the arrangement of humanity into different ethnic institutions. If you recall, we said that ethnicity is about an economic ideology that lives within the governance of the institution. This implies that both religion and fulfillment of purpose cannot be isolated from allowing diversity of views, perceptions, institutions, and indeed governance. It also challenges the notion of nations as the required human structure for existence, but we will deal with this topic in another conversation. It also means that fulfilling the ultimate purpose of humanity is tied to ensuring that different viewpoints exist and are expressed within their domain of power. Now, once we have a world, or we are approaching a world where there is just one idea, or one philosophy, or one government, we are effectively heading to the defeat of purpose. It is akin to pushing for either causing a break in the human chain or environmental disaster. Now ask yourself, looking at the world before us, where are we? If you look at all the actions taken in the past, whether it was interethnic wars, world wars, slavery, colonization, or even the global structures that exist today, they all seem to be pushing the world to a place of uniformity. We're all edging closer to a world where only one viewpoint exists and is accepted. Whether you look at it from financial structures, technology, media, governance, or philosophical perceptions, they all seem to be converging in one place. Take religion, for example. There is almost a global acceptance that it requires some specific actions. Although there is a claim of the different religions, when you study them all, they all effectively lean towards the same school of thoughts and actions. This state, where a humanity that was given fundamental structure to operate in recognition and appreciation of diversity is suppressing that for uniformity, does it have any benefit? It is safe to say that it is counterproductive. It would only continue to push the concerns that had already been identified that could trigger the reset of humanity. You can get a copy of Legacy to truly understand this. The major driver of this uniformity is that only a few people are consciously controlling their minds on how they influence the global trajectory. Ordinarily, it could be said that every individual was created to use their mental reasoning as a defense line for protecting their diversity and that of the institution where they belong. You should watch the video that talks about tools for transformation and the one that talks about ethnicity to fully understand this. As people, in the name of trying to fit into the economic direction set by others, continue to abandon their mental reasoning, they become docile or redundant in shaping the global trajectory. That means they become a dumping ground for whatever ideology someone else throws at them. This is why the perception of the meaning, and indeed the mode of practice of religion, governance, and the economy is becoming uniform, which is not good for the primary objective of human and environmental sustenance. The bottom line, then, is that the problem our world has today is that while only a few are thinking about fulfilling their purpose by asking logical questions to assess whether theories or dogmas should be accepted, others seem lost. They would rather throw away their purpose of displaying difference in views and perception for the adoption of uniformity, even in places where they should not. The question then is, what to do? Now that we are approaching this world where everything seems to be one or is becoming one, if you ask about religion, you get one perspective. You ask about governance, you get one perspective. You ask about the economy, the same, you get one perspective. Meanwhile, these perspectives you get have fundamental flaws that should have been rejected by certain people right from time because they conflict with their traditional understanding and nature. So what do we do in this scenario? We can't let it continue. Instead, we need to mobilize through civil revolution. That is the purpose of the Civil Revolution Initiative. It is about awakening people to realize that by the virtue of inaction, we are pushing our world to a dangerous place. It is also to bring to the attention of those who feel they understand the afterlife and heaven more, to look deeper and see if the picture they have about heaven is the right one. The revolution is about creating a civil path for decrypting important information for humanity and galvanizing people to act accordingly. It aims to start by challenging some of these entrenched perspectives and bringing out better ones to replace them. For example, one of the current orders that need to be challenged is the capitalist ideology, which promotes a distorted view of individualism. We discussed this in the video that talks about the potential of global crises ahead. You should watch that video. In fact, you should take your time and watch all our videos to open your mind better. As part of that global vision of creating a new world, which understandably many assume is too visionary and idealistic, we have the NEAT initiative. The goal is to, through nations such as Nigeria and other African nations that were naturally enriched with these diversities, show the practicability of this new world order. By making the most of those diversities, they would introduce alternative models for human and environmental sustenance in a way that would compete with existing ones. It is about creating a marketplace of ideas and philosophies, where the best for humanity is allowed to prevail, not obstructed to the detriment of all. It is about ensuring that the directives encoded within these diversities are allowed to express and impress the global direction. The initiative is looking at using Nigeria as the pilot plant for implementing this. It is not necessarily limiting the call to Nigerians alone, but realizes that Nigeria stands in a very unique place, both globally and in Africa, to drive this global correction. Whether you are a citizen of Nigeria or not, there is a role you can play in this initiative. It involves different layers of activities that you can be part of. One of them, as you may have observed from these videos, is to give people clarity on both the problems and the solutions and to make them think beyond themselves. The platform also offers an opportunity for any individual from whatever background to share content with the audience. Financial returns attached to such content would be given to the individual. So if you have content that you believe will help bring clarity on a problem, solution, or context, you are very much welcome to share it. The videos aside, the NEAT initiative is also involved in a variety of programs, including the NEAT Career Academy. The goal of this academy is to expand career opportunities for young people, either in communities with limited opportunities or those with unique gifts to maximize those potentials. You can also play a role in supporting or partnering with us, either by bringing to our attention a community that you believe could benefit from this initiative, or through financial support. We also have the NEAT Conversation Forum, which is designed to spark important conversations on different topics. We're also using the platform to gather inputs, opinions, and experiences of individuals in Nigeria relating to heavy-handedness from either other individuals, government officials, or organizations. If you have any such experience or know anyone who has such experience, you are welcome to share it in the NEAT forum. We're not just keeping them, we're deploying teams to combat them and to hold the people involved accountable. All these aside, the ultimate goal of the platform is to create a place to congregate and strategize for the development of the country, the continent, and the globe at large. One of the highly recommended strategies is to develop a new constitution for Nigeria. You can watch the video where we talked about this to understand what kind of changes are required. To achieve this, the NEAT initiative is also structured to, through unanimous collective agreement, hold government officials accountable. This is demonstrated in the project that resisted the constitutional breach by the executive and legislative arms of the Nigerian government. We're also promoting projects such as movies, TV shows, events, and other activities that either tell the right story or present the pictures of either the Nigerian or the global problem. You can invest in or support any of these projects or seek support for your own initiative. There's also room for you to join the NEAT administrative team, where we discuss and agree on strategies for delivering the vision. Most importantly, even if the present objectives are met and Nigeria, Africa, and indeed the world begin to move in the direction we anticipate, there is still room for both the civil revolution and the NEAT initiative to continue its role in envisioning challenges and preventing them. So, join the revolution to bring a new world. Visit www.civilrevo.org and www.civilrevo.org/NEAT to get started. Thank you, and see you in the next video.